As the one who has been unfaithful in the marriage, have you ever stopped to wonder, what in the world are my first steps that I even begin to take after my spouse has found out about my infidelity? They found out about the pornography use, or they found out about the affair. We're going to try to reconcile, but I don't know where to begin. I don't know what my actions should even be. I'm at a loss. Please help. Well, today on Beauty Beyond Betrayal, we're going to talk about it. And it's not just for the unfaithful today. It is for the betrayed and the betrayer. And it's great to even listen to it as a couple because it can really open up some great conversation. So stay tuned. Hey, beautiful. Welcome to Beauty Beyond Betrayal. Have you discovered your husband's been having an affair? Do you just want the pain to stop and be able to take a deep breath again? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling how to save your marriage, heal from an affair? Do you wake up with the hope that this nightmare would end only to feel crushed and humiliated because your husband acts like the affair was really your fault, and now you're left obsessing with where he is and if he's seeing her again? Hey, I'm Lisa. I too was devastated when I discovered my husband was having an affair. I too felt the pain would never end and wished he would just stop the affair and we could restore our marriage. I wanted the weight of the trauma to be lifted so I could breathe again and be able to have someone, anyone, help me climb out of the dark, miry pit of despair so I could begin to heal and be confident in me again. But I kept telling myself, he won't stop seeing her. Must have been my fault. And this pain, it'll never go away. Until I found hope and healing in Christ, along with simple techniques that helped me to learn how to recover from the betrayal. In this podcast, you'll discover what betrayal trauma really is, learn simple techniques to heal and recover, and get biblical guidance to help you make the right choices as you heal from the affair so you can be free from the heartbreak and the pain and rise in confidence once again to be the woman God created you to be. So beautiful, grab your favorite latte or a glass of wine, snuggle up on the couch and focus on yourself for a few minutes. Let's dive into what it really means to rise up from the ashes of betrayal and loss into a life that you really desire. Welcome back to the show, beautiful. Before we dive in today, I just want to remind you that we have 8 days until the doors close on our Beyond the Betrayal group coaching program. We still are in the middle of registration. You still have time to register. Get in before it's too late. We have a few spots available for this group coaching program. So what is it? It's an all-inclusive group membership program for Christian women who are seeking to heal their hearts and discover who you really are when trust has been broken through betrayal. Now, let me tell you what it includes: a weekly self-paced recorded session, deep diving into all the topics regarding betrayal trauma and how to heal from it, how to deal with pornography issues and affair issues, worksheets and deep dive homework guides, a private Facebook community where you have support and encouragement from women, like-minded women just like you who are seeking to heal from the effects of betrayal, a weekly live coffee Q&A with me where we come together, you bring your questions, and I get to coach you through weekly, and you get to hear other women being coached through some of the things that they are dealing with, which is very beneficial as you are healing. Research has shown that group programs are so beneficial for those who are healing from betrayal trauma. We also have, again, the accountability and support, the sisterhood, the community, and there's bonus teachings, workshops, and even guest coaching. Now, the membership program is on sale right now through the end of this week. And if you get in on that early bird pricing, you're going to save a bundle. You have the option to pay in full, which is an added discount for you, or you can pay monthly. The Beauty Beyond the Betrayal program is jam-packed with wisdom, insight, and it has a proven roadmap to healing and the necessary tools that you need to journey through to your recovery. So the link is below in the show notes. Grab your spot while they are still available, because once they are gone, and we won't have another program open until January of 2025. Beautiful. I would love to have you as a part of this program. The women who have been a part of it for the first round cannot believe where their healing progress is right now. It's amazing. So grab it while you can, and I can't wait to see you in there. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're actually looking at the first steps that the unfaithful spouse should be taking after Discovery Day, and you've decided to move forward to reconcile your relationship. And there are steps that the unfaithful spouse definitely needs to take in order to have you as the betrayed spouse be able to learn to trust again, to develop safety and security, so that you have stability once again in your life and in your relationship. So I want to break each of these down for you today, and this is going to be very, very beneficial. So grab a pen and paper. If you are seeking to reconcile, you're listening to this, you're the betrayed spouse, make sure to send this to your spouse who is the betrayer, because this will really help them. Because sometimes it's like they're at a loss, right? You as the unfaithful can be at a loss. You can be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what first step to take. I broke us, and I don't know how to fix us, right? All right, so I'm going to give you your first steps. Let's dive in. Number one, you need to make your choice and stick with it. What do I mean by that? Well, there comes a point in your journey where you have to make the choice to stay involved either with the affair person or make the commitment to your relationship, to your marriage. You can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't ride two horses with one rear end. Like, I'm just being real here. You can't do that. The choice you make will have its own benefits and consequences. Let's be real here. It will also determine your future outcome. What you should not continue to do is to play the ping pong game. Now, this is where you go back and forth between your spouse and the affair person. My husband did that for a year and a half. Not only does that do damage and trauma and undue stress on the one who's betrayed, but it also affects you as the unfaithful. It really does. It has some strong consequences associated with it. Many find themselves in this situation for months, even years, sometimes not knowing how to break the cycle, or better yet, your spouse or the affair person does it for you. And some linger just so that that would take place. But that's not the healthy route to take. By staying in the ping pong cycle, you are actually inflicting prolonged pain on everyone involved. It would be better for you to separate from the affair person so you can gain clarity from wise counsel in order to weigh out your decision. This is the most respectful thing to do for all the parties involved. Now, once you've made your choice, then stick with it, with all determination, with all commitment. Do not go back to the ping pong cycle. This will only lead to more destruction of self, your spouse, and your relationship. Number two is this: tell the truth always, even if it hurts. Now, the secret life, the lies, the deceit, they all take a toll on your marriage, your spouse, and even on you. When you're living the lie daily, it becomes your reality. This is what I've called the infidelity bubble. And this needs to burst in order for you to gain the clarity you need to realize what you've been telling yourself and others. You see, dishonesty is a huge trap with many consequences in the natural and in the spirit. Stepping into truth can be a challenge after living in deception for so long. And many of you have the fear that in telling the truth, this is going to cause more pain for your spouse. Well, hear me and hear me closely. The truth is, it will hurt. But telling the truth even though it brings pain, is far better and healing than living in a constant lie. The affair was built upon lies. The pornography use was built upon lies. The sexual addiction you've been under was all built upon lies. Recovery and reconciliation can only be built upon truth. Let me say that again. Recovery and reconciliation can only, capital letters, only be built upon truth. Now, of course, there are some details that don't need to be shared. Those are like characteristic traits, comparison, graphic sexual details. These will only bring more trauma than healing. That's why a full disclosure process is the best way to go, because working with a trauma-informed coach, and if you're dealing with sexual addiction, a CSAT, the two of them together can pull you and your spouse through that process and can help you to have the healing part of the information available for your spouse, and the things that would cause more trauma, well, those things we filter out for you, and you need a professional to help you with that. Now, speaking the truth in love is always the way back from infidelity. This is the only way to go. All right, number 3 is this: shut the door to the affair once and for all. Sometimes we keep it in the back of our minds, don't we, as the unfaithful? We think of things like, well, if my marriage doesn't work out, I can always go back. Well, if my spouse makes it too hard in the recovery process, I can always go back. Well, listen to me. This keeps the door wide open for future infidelity to occur. It also, if you don't close the door to the sexual addiction, to the pornography use, if you don't slam that shut and you keep going back to it, then it's going to keep the door wide open for future relapses. Your heart must be safeguarded, as well as your marriage. You have to set up healthy boundaries, healthy perimeters, put those in place. You and your spouse need to have safety and security once again. If you are keeping the door open, you will not be able to connect with your spouse in the ways that you should. You're not going to be able to connect emotionally, spiritually, or really physically the way you desire to. So close the door now, sever all contact with the affair person, completely get rid of any pornography materials, treat it as that addiction that it is, stay far, far away from it once and for all. Close the door. This just keeps you tied if you don't, and it's an unholy tie at that. It keeps you tied to the addiction or the affair person. This causes your mind to continually fantasize. It keeps a longing in your heart that should be turned and directed only to your spouse. If need be, change all your email accounts, your phone numbers, change jobs if necessary, move your family to a different location if you need to. Make sure you have safety perimeters in place. Make sure you have guardrails on your phone, on your computers, everything intact that you need to shut the door once and for all. An open door keeps your marriage in the danger zone. So shut the doors once and for all so you have the opportunity to reconcile and build a better marriage for you both. The next one is this: take full responsibility for your actions. Now, many times you may believe your marriage was the cause of the affair. Maybe you believe it was because of your spouse. Maybe you believe it was because of certain situations. The reality is this: it was your decision. Let's speak truth, and let's speak it very loudly. It was your choice. No one made you have an affair. It was your free will choice. No one actually put a gun to your head and made you walk in the constant pornography use. No one did that, right? You cannot excuse away or justify the affair, no matter how much you would want to, no matter how much you would want to justify the fact that, well, I have a sexual addiction. Well, if you've come to that conclusion, you should be in recovery work with a certified sex addiction therapist. There's no excuse to stay in an addiction. There's no excuse to blame anyone for your choice of an affair. And in order to properly heal your marriage, your spouse, and yourself, you must take full responsibility for your actions. No more blame shifting. No more trying to, put it upon somebody else or something else. And I know this is hard, and I know it can be hard for a while as you're taking the brunt hit for your actions. But remember this. You made the promises to your spouse when you took vows that you did not keep. And for this, there are natural consequences. You may wonder if you will always be deemed, quote, the bad guy or the bad girl or the unfaithful. And for a time, yes, you will. But in time, this will pass. It takes time for your spouse to get to a place of emotional regulation after the trauma of your betrayal. So have patience, grant grace, exhibit empathy for the pain that was caused. For a time, the focus will be on what you did, but in time, it will be on who you become. Let me say that again. For a time, the focus will be on what you did, but in time, it will be on who you will become. Remember, your spouse is in great pain right now. While your dump truck of deceit is no longer a burden you're trying to hide, your spouse has had all of that dumped upon them. They need time to climb out of that trauma. So support your spouse in their journey. Take responsibility, and this will help rebuild the trust that was broken. Okay, I want to give you another one today. Support your spouse by taking steps to actually step into the pain that you've caused. In other words, support them by stepping into their shoes. Feel the pain. Have empathy. Now, this one, my friend, is not easy. When you step into your spouse's pain and you begin to experience the trauma, loss, the devastation, and the despair, it can be heart-wrenching. The pain of betrayal is one of the worst, most devastating things anyone can experience in this life. It leaves you speechless, unable to articulate how you feel, what you feel, and it impacts your very identity. This is a pain you will most likely find yourself wanting to hide from, especially when it hits you that you're the one that caused it. Now, this is not to shame you. It's not to heap condemnation on you. No. It's to bring you to the reality of what betrayal really does. This is not something that your spouse can just, quote, get over. She cannot just leave it behind and move on. There is a process of healing from the trauma that has impacted your spouse. And yes, it is actual trauma. You need to recognize that. Research has shown that betrayal trauma affects the betrayed spouse's past, present, and future. It changes their reality, and it also causes an identity crisis. They look at themselves in the mirror and they don't even recognize who they are anymore. The trauma and the wounds need to heal. If you are choosing to stay and reconcile, then you need to be the one to support your spouse in the healing process and offer empathy, comfort, and relief. You can help them by stepping into responsibility day after day. Ask your spouse, how are you doing? Engage in conversation, even if it's hard, and reassure your spouse of your commitment to them and to the relationship. This is vitally important. Okay, I'm going to give you one more for today, and then we're going to make this a two-parter. I know, but I don't want this to go way too long. So we're going to give you one more, and then we're going to wrap it up in part 2. So the last one for today is this. Stop living in regret, shame, and guilt and condemnation. Instead, focus on who you desire to become as you recover. Listen, you were living 2 separate lives for a time. One known by your family, friends, relatives, co-workers, etc. And one that was hidden. It can be very confusing as to how you even begin to integrate the two. And yes, there is an integration process. First, you need to acknowledge that they both actually happened. This is reality. This did take place. You cannot deny either. But the one that was hidden, the unholy one, the one that was not of God, is a story that can cause regret, shame, guilt, and condemnation. That's where the enemy wants you to stay. Now, when you first leave the affair, when you first start recovery from a sexual addiction and you leave pornography behind and you choose to work on your marriage, these things will be at the forefront. You're going to feel regret. You're going to feel the shame, the guilt, and the condemnation. It's just a consequence. It's a part of it. But in order to heal and move forward in your new life, you must cast aside the old man, the one who lived that way. You must be made new, be transformed. And with that transformation comes the new man that arises. So this is where you ask yourself, who am I becoming, right? Who do I want to become? How do I want my life to change? What is the story I want to be living and telling for the remainder of my life? These answers should never be based upon your circumstances, for circumstances change daily. These must reflect who you are at the core, who God created you to be. Spend time defining your character, your heart, and your soul of who you want to become. This is where you deep dive with God and you say, Lord, who did you really create me to be? A man of integrity, a woman of integrity, one who seeks to have your character, walk in purity of heart once again. Who is that? I want to become that person. And then seek to work this out with either your therapist and or your coach. And if you need help doing that as a couple, if you are struggling with these things, then by all means in the show notes, grab a consult. I can help you as a couple to not only restore yourselves individually, but restore the coupleship of the relationship so you can have the marriage that you really dream of having. So I pray this helped you today. We're going to make this the first part of a 2-part series. You definitely need to come back Friday for the second part of this, because the remainder is really going to help you as well, because all of these steps are crucial for the unfaithful as you are seeking to move forward in reconciliation with your spouse after the devastation of betrayal. I pray it helped you. Stay tuned, and I'll see you again on Friday. Be blessed. Thanks for stopping by today and spending a little while with me. I hope you enjoyed today's show and found hope, healing, and encouragement. Please remember to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. You can even screenshot this episode and share it on IG or Facebook stories. This is how we get the message of hope and healing out to all women who are in the midst of betrayal and loss. If you're ready to move out of the devastation of betrayal and take the next step in your healing, make sure to reach out to me and schedule your breakthrough coaching call today. Until next time, love God, live your life passionately, and always choose joy in the midst of any circumstance that you may face. Cheers to you, beautiful.